Hello, everyone. This is Trevor, and thank you for coming to my channel, Pioneer Spirit. If you could please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, share, comment below, and watch my videos right till the very end. Because if you've watched enough of my videos, you know that yes, I make videos of what grinds my gears, challenges, problems that are facing, local, regionally, nationally, globally. But towards the end of my videos, I make a great effort to add a solution. Okay, my solution from my experience, nearly 51 years on this planet. I always like to add a solution towards the end, because what good is it to go and complain about something and at least not come up with some kind of solution? Okay, if you like my solution, definitely give the thumbs up and say, hey, I really like the work you're doing. If you don't like the solutions that I come up with to the problems that I present, put a thumbs down and leave hopefully a constructive criticism comment. But if you want to leave a troll comment, go ahead too. Everything is welcome. This is a no holds barred freedom of speech channel. Okay. And like the Steven Crowder meme, change my mind. If what I present to you think is absolutely 100% wrong, then change my mind. Leave comments below, post videos or articles to other sites that can refute what I'm saying, because I'm here to learn. Okay, I'm here to learn. I hope everybody's here to learn as well. And if I can shed some light on a subject for you and open your eyes and make you think, great. But I will reciprocate that. If you tell me if what I'm saying is wrong, definitely post it below. I prefer the constructive criticism over some of the more trolling kind of comments, which I get from time to time. But that's, hey, fine. Whatever floats your boat. So all the help that everyone gives and has been giving it's greatly appreciated, and I thank you. Okay. So that being said, a topic that I would like to talk about, and I've talked about before for many years, and I didn't want to post this on Novembrance Day. I have in the past posted some videos like this. As I get older, I come to change the ways I think, and because hey, I'm free to change the way I think, right? But I still. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I really didn't want to hurt anybody, because there are people out there that 100% support the nation you're in. And when I talk about nations, I really like to talk, UK, Canada, and America. Okay, those are the three, because I'm in Canada. I love America, and I have British roots. Okay, and I have many friends in Britain, in the UK. So. The three countries I like to talk about. So I know it can really ruffle feathers, to put it mildly, when it sounds like I'm railing against police and soldiers. Okay, I used to. I mean, back in the day, a hardcore anarchist. I still admire anarchist thoughts. Rules without rulers, but. The more I study other people and the more I'm thinking and whatnot, I do appreciate the works of like Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, definitely a free market capitalist, objectivist, run your life on rational thoughts rather than emotional thoughts. But in the end of the day, people say, like, how much government is necessary? And her thought was, hey, we need government to run the police, the military, and the courts, a justice system. I don't know. Because that's definitely, that comes from like the Chicago school of thought, and it's like a Milton Friedman kind of thoughts. If you're looking at it from an economic point of view, but I do admire, and I really do. I lean more towards the Austrian school of economics. So that's going to be like your Murray Rothbard, like in the great book I have here behind me. What has government done to our money? So I do, but hey, we got to figure out a way. you got to figure society. I really don't like the term society either. Individuals within your nation, we all have to progressively grow, right? And what are the best ways of doing things and whatnot? So yeah, so that's just, I'm just kind of giving you my point of view as to where I'm kind of landing on, politics, philosophy, economics. It's like I do appreciate Milton Friedman and Murray Rothbard, but more leaning towards the Murray Rothbard Austrian School of Economics. But again, like I say, Ayn Rand, I think she's a stone cold genius. I used to not like her take on it when people are like, hey, what do you think's necessary about government and again policing, military, and the justice system? So, but I'm wondering, how do we evolve that? How do we evolve that? You can't be completely against it. Well, I guess you could, like I was at one point, a pure anarchist. But you get older, your thoughts and processes should be able to evolve. So, and especially in terms of COVID, okay, what happened here in Canada, especially from March 2020 until almost March 2022. So what am I meaning by that? And up until that point in time, in Canada, you're kind of like, this is the way you are as a Canadian. So in Canada, we have given up we don't have the right to bear arms, okay? There is firearm ownership in Canada, but it's very restricted. It's becoming far more limited in what you can own and whatnot. But in Canada, basically, what we've done, and then I'll get into my why I think policing should change since what happened during the pandemic. But basically, so before that, and even still today, but policing in Canada, your right to self-defense, politicians have said to us throughout time immemorial here in Canada, look, we're not going to give you the right to bear arms. We don't want citizens to be armed. Oh, don't worry. We will provide policing to, maintain your freedoms and safety within Canada. And we're going to have a military, that'll maintain freedom from foreign invasion, or if we have to go and be peacekeepers to whatever country across either Atlantic or Pacific Oceans. That's what they're there for. So don't worry, as Canadian citizens. So as Canadian citizens, we have given up our I say natural born rights to self-preservation. And we put it in the hands of politicians, have said that to us. This is what you're going to get. And okay, up until this point, I'm like, whatever, I guess it is what it is, but COVID really showed me, and this is why I want to link into why policing and military in Canada especially needs to be changed. Somewhat again with the UK, and America it's kind of on the fence as to where this subject could go, but definitely here in Canada, because what we saw during COVID, and you can go on any social media platform, your Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, and you can find a plethora of videos of police officers during COVID that were more than willing to. Some of them, I think, enjoyed it. Some of them did it because, hey, you know what? Here in Canada, being a police officer, you can make good money, you get good pension, and relatively safe as a police officer. There are some certain areas that are getting worse, your larger cities and whatnot. But I think for the most part, policing it's pretty safe in Canada, good pay. So police officers, again, some of them were more than willing to go out and make arrests on people who weren't wearing a face covering. There's a plethora of videos of police going into pharmacies, grocery stores, restaurants, just anywhere that people would complain and phone the police, and police would show up and make arrests on people who, not wearing masks or, places of religious worship. If they had too many people in their temples or, churches and whatnot, if they weren't wearing masks or, like I say, too many people in there, police would come in and try to shut it down. And it really opened my eyes to thinking, wow, there's a lot of police officers out here in Canada. They're just more than willing to use their use of force to maintain whatever the politicians tell them. And it was, it's a real eye-opener and think, this just wasn't right. There's just too many police officers doing the whims of politicians rather than what's their oath of office. Okay, what do soldiers and police officers, they do take some kind of oath, I'm going to say, to upholding and maintaining the whatever social contract it is in your country, your state, your province. But COVID really showed me that, look, there was just police officers. It didn't matter about anything. They were very overzealous and will do anything that they're told. And then on the other hand, there's police officers that are just, they don't want to, they don't want to get fired. They're getting good pay. And you can't take their pensions away from them, but again, they don't want to get their paychecks taken away, so they just blindly do everything that the politicians say. And that goes for the soldiering too. This is why I didn't want to post this on Remembrance Day here in Canada or Armistice Day in the UK, or Memorial Day in the United States, as terms that are used for those days. Because again, I know it hurts people's feelings who are absolutely 100% into supporting police and soldiers. But where's the obligation for police officers and soldiers to maintain their obligation and their oath to the social contract that they've taken to, and to maintaining the social contract for the citizens within the country that they hail from? So, I'm from Canada, so I use Canada as the example quite a bit. But again, you can refer to the UK and the United States too as well. But, COVID really, it should open up your eyes. If it didn't, I hope I am. I'm helping you open your eyes to somewhat to this. But look, at what point were police officers and soldiers, did any of them even think at any point in time, like look at, politicians are like, go to the dollar store and just buy a bandana and put it over your face. Okay, that's what you could do. Is a joke one time, I wrapped a T-shirt around that I had in the back of my Jeep, that I think I used to wipe down the rims on my Jeep, and I wrapped that around my face as a joke to get into a grocery store that I wasn't allowed to go into because I wouldn't wear a face covering. So I just, a little old rag, a T-shirt. And they're like, yeah, come on in. So I shopped around, and with a T-shirt, you could do anything to put over your face. And so police officers, were you not intelligent enough to, I know this is a bit of a knock, but were you not intelligent enough to go, look, this is ridiculous. You can wear anything over your face. Just to be able to go out and grocery shop and do whatnot. And then, of course, it was getting even far worse here in Canada from March 2020. Then, get into March 2021. And by Christmas, March 2021 here in Canada, this is where I play into the soldiers too. And where's the soldiers' obligation, and police officers too, to their obligation? Now this falls more into the soldiers, but your obligation to maintaining and taking that oath to protecting the fine citizens of your country, because the fine citizens of Canada have said, I don't have the right to bear arms. I can't protect myself from foreign or domestic violence, so we put it in the hands of government employees to do that. Like, at what point what point is a soldier's obligation to saying, look, I took an oath to the social contract here in Canada, to the citizens, and by Christmas time 2021, did they just think that they could continue to do the whims of politicians? And politicians were just, they used the social contracts here in Canada as a napkin to wipe their mouth with, to wipe their arses with. That's what social contracts, that's what politicians did with social contracts during COVID in the UK, Canada, and to a lesser degree, but still did in the United States. But what is a soldier's obligation? And I know people are like, oh, Trevor, if soldiers and police officers in Canada united and said, no, look, we took an oath to a social contract and to maintaining, supposed to be freedoms for people in our nation, and we're not doing the whims of politicians anymore. I know people are going, Trevor, that's the makings of a coup, and we don't want that. I'm not talking about the soldiers and police banding together and overthrowing the government. No. What I'm just saying is there anything they can do, like a peaceful, I guess, resistance, which is what the truckers did. Okay, people, it wasn't the soldiers or police who after 2 years almost decide enough is enough. It's been 2 years. Okay, that's why in February 2022, we had truck drivers and people who supported them and anyone else who drove to Ottawa, Canada, and said, Mr. Trudeau, we're here, we're peaceful. It was completely peaceful, but we're here to let you know you've just got to end this silliness with COVID. Okay, being told to put anything on your face, like a dollar store bandana, and standing 6 feet away as if, viruses have a conscience and know exactly, I can't do 6 feet away or it was nothing voluntary about it. But it wasn't soldiers who, I don't like to use the word fought for our freedom, because internally, then you're talking about coups, and I am not in for that. Okay. I think what the truckers did was a peaceful resolution, or revolution, whatever you want to call it. It was peaceful, and it practically ended the COVID tyrannical grip that Justin Trudeau and even all the other politicians, Conservatives, Greens, NDP, they all backed it. They all backed it, and they wore their masks and did all the things you were told to do. But it was truckers who went. And it kind of, there was a few memes that went around, and I was like, I don't know. It's like soldiers weren't the ones that fought for our freedoms here within Canada. It was truckers. So, I know I asked this question: was the obligation for soldiers to protect our freedoms not only from outside of Canada, but what about within? And again, please, I'm not talking about like a violent military coup takeover, but what can soldiers do? Can they just refuse to work? Can police officers refuse to work? Police officers showed us that they weren't going to. I couldn't find I don't think I could find one video of a police officer. If there's just one video of police officers refusing to arrest someone for not wearing a mask or having. It was just ridiculous here in Canada. It was absolutely ridiculous. That what? Yeah, it took people like just regular, ordinary Canadians, not police and soldiers, to shut down this COVID BS that was happening. I mean, it was 2 years in. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then, and that just went for, almost 2 years to flatten the curve. So, I think that's about, I do have my crib notes here. I do write down, I just want to know the obligation of soldiers in maintaining the freedoms and taking their oath to the social contract to within the country that they hail from? What is their obligation to helping the citizens within there? Because I don't see any police officers, soldiers doing anything that was remotely close to challenging them. And I'm not saying, again, no coup takeover, because when armed public sector workers decide to change the government, it's a coup, and we don't want that. But I want to know, like again, if you're a police officer watching this, you're a soldier watching this, have you ever thought about going above and beyond your paychecks and pensions and actually thinking about the oath of office that you've taken, to making sure that the social contract that is given to the citizens that you're protecting is maintained and it isn't taken away? Because if a politician can take away our social contracts in an emergency, what stops a politician from creating any kind of an emergency? Do you understand what I mean? It's like, or in an emergency, this is when citizens absolutely need their natural born rights, their social contract. That's when it's most valuable. But if politicians can just say, no, there's cold and flu, I didn't know that any social contracts in the UK, Canada, or United States said, you have your freedoms, except during a cold and flu or pandemic season. I didn't know there was that amendment clauses in the social contracts. Sarcasm implied. But yeah, again, so just think about that as a police officer. Like, at what point do you just go, like, have you taken an oath to politicians, or is your oath to maintaining the social contracts, the oaths you've taken to the citizens? And again, I don't want this to be an armed uprising, but like, what can you do en masse? Just say we're not going to enforce it? I mean, did police officers think that, by Christmas 2021 sort of thing, like, did you ever at any point just think this is ridiculous? Like, did you not clue in and say, look, we've had, you're enforcing mask mandates and whatnot. It was just ridiculous. And again, it took the hard-working backbone of society, the truckers, to go up into Ottawa and to, have a peaceful protest is what it was. But it was not. It was use of force was used by police, and I wouldn't be surprised if military was in there. Use of force was used to shut down the peaceful protest. So I don't know. What is your obligation, police officers and soldiers, to maintaining your oath to the social contract, the country to which you hail in? But not an arm, not a coup. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, what can you do? What can you do? And I didn't see you doing anything other than enforcing the whims of politicians. So, okay, I've said all that. I think that's pretty much, I think everyone gets the gist here. So now, what's your solution? What's your solution, Trevor? Well, okay, if I go from like the Ayn Rand school of thought on policing, military, and the justice system, she's like, hey, we need it full out. We need it. I don't know if she went into anything like what I'm going to talk to, but I'm going to say police, military, a standing army is, like Voltaire said, a standing army is a threat to the citizenship if it's definitely... you live in somewhere like Canada where you don't have the right to bear arms. So this is where I think that, people like in the UK and Canada should have an American-style right to bear arms. Because this is where you can take your standing paramilitary, which is police, they're like paramilitary, and your full-out military. You can reduce the numbers to a point that's... not going to be like where criminals are like, hey, I'm not saying defund them, to the point, where criminals are laughing, going, man, I can get away with shit now. No, what you do is if your citizens of the country have a right to bear arms, so if Canadian citizens had the right to bear arms in UK and anywhere else in the world had like an American style 2A, you are by like de facto a police officer and a soldier. How, you are asking? Well, let's just say the fine citizens of Canada have the right to bear arms. You are, by de facto, a police officer if you wear a concealed firearm and go out and you thwart a mass shooting or a robbery or something. Because in those situations where you have like a mass shooting, police officers are going to it's going to take them time to get there. And in that time, someone could massively open fire and do a lot of damage and, commit a lot of crimes against humanity. And we don't want that. So when the fine citizens of, say, Canada were to have like a right to bear arms, you are by like de facto a police officer. So we can reduce our policing, still have policing, okay? And I'm talking, I think policing should be more involved in a crimes against humanity rather than some of the other 10,000 plus laws that are probably on the books. So I think that it could relieve the pressures of things like bad things happening to citizens if they have the right to bear arms, okay? And that can play into as well, like soldiers. I'm by de facto a soldier because obviously if the Canadian citizens did have the right to bear arms, there was, let's use an example, like in World War II, I can't think of the fella's name now. He was a Japanese admiral or general, said that they could never invade the mainland of America because hiding behind every blade of grass, there'd be an American with a gun. So they just know they can't do it. If Canada were ever invaded, let's say Russia and China, we're going to enter America via Canada through the north. Well, I mean, if Canadians did have the right to bear arms, we would, they'd be probably going, well, we can't because hiding behind every maple tree and pine tree, there's a well-armed Canadian. So I just think that alleviates pressures on policing and military when the fine citizens of your country do have a right to bear arms. And we don't in Canada. And you do in the United States. That's why I'm a fan of the United States. But even that's under pressure. So I think that that alleviates things like that. Again, because... Again, I'm not saying armed uprising or anything, but I just think politicians are more respectful to people, knowing that, like Americans, they have the right to bear arms. I guess there are maybe some people that would question that and go, well, I'm an American, I got the right to bear arms, and it looks like my freedoms are being, swept under the rug. But at least in America during COVID, if you didn't like your state and what they were doing, in terms of your freedom, like California, New York, Illinois, you didn't like that. Hey, they're going to enforce mask mandates, medical procedures to keep your job and whatnot. You could say, I'm going to leave. You could, maybe it's difficult, but I'll tell you, if it was something like that, you could say, look, I'm going to go from California to Arizona, to Wyoming, to Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, Florida. There's a whole range of states you go to and say, look, I prefer this other state's COVID mandates, or that some of them didn't even have it. It was a voluntary option. So that alleviated pressures from the police, because now the police are like, oh, good, because, I think deep down police don't want to enforce bad laws. I think most police officers are like that. But again, Canada showed us that, police officers were more than willing to do that. I think some of it was fear over their paychecks and whatnot. You just, if you're told to do something, you're a police officer, you got to do it. You're a soldier, you're told to do it, you got to do it. So I think this comes down to just that. What is the obligation of police and soldiers to helping out the fine citizens to the country to which they hail in? What is their obligation to helping them maintain the social contract and their freedoms? What is the oath that police and soldiers take? So, and again, like, not a knock against police officers and soldiers. I really don't want it to be. I'm not on the side of, hey, let's just 100% wipe out everything that, government maintains. I question it. I think it's good to question it. But if we're going to have a role, like especially in Canada, where police and soldiers are the ones who are going to have the means to protect the citizens from, foreign or domestic invaders, violators, then I think they need to step up with their oaths and look at what happened during COVID. Look what you did during COVID. I mean, arresting people for not having a dollar store bandana over your face. People losing their jobs because they wouldn't take medical procedures. I mean, I think this should have been a wake-up call for those people who are maintaining the social contract, who took the oath, to have some kind of peaceful resolution to things that, I mean, COVID went on way too long, people. You got to know that. I mean, I know there's hardcore people out there still wearing a mask. I still see it. People driving alone in their cars wearing a mask. I think it looks ridiculous, but the voluntarist in me says, hey, if you want to voluntarily wear a mask, go ahead. You want to still do all the COVID measures? Go ahead. That's fine. Just let it be voluntary. And again, there has to be, like, I think, as when it comes to soldiers and whatnot, again, this is why I didn't want to really post it on November 11th. I don't want to ruffle people's feathers. I just want to ask that you open your mind to the, to policing and the protecting everyone's rights, a citizen within your country, within and without. Because, I mean, hey, we needed soldiers in World War II. And bless the soldiers that did go and stop the Nazis, the SS, and all those people during World War II. We needed an army. Okay, but I also too think that the best of all army's a voluntary one. This is why if I'm Prime Minister of Canada during World War II, I would initiate things like conscription and drafts. I would hope that more people would voluntarily join a military if it's needed, right? If outside your country something is going on and, a voluntary army, I'll take one voluntary soldier over 10 conscripted ones. But again, I don't know. These are just questions that I have. What is a soldier's and police officer's obligation to maintaining the oath they took to the social contracts and to the good citizens of their country over politicians' whims? That's all COVID was. It was just politicians' whims, completely taking, like, any social contracts we had here in Canada, UK, and somewhat, I think the United States was a little mixed, okay? Like I said before, there were some states, if you didn't like the COVID mandates of Gavin Newsom, go to Florida and go to the open state of Florida and Ron DeSantis and his ways. There was a lot of other states in there too you can go to and just say, look, I'm setting up shop here because I think that my freedoms are more important than safety, right? Isn't that Benjamin Franklin said, those who give up freedom for security deserve neither, something like that. So, and in Canada, we have completely given up the freedom to self-preservation. We have given it up, and we say, okay, this is, politicians will take care of it. But like again, during COVID, plethora of videos of police officers. Like, it wasn't just in the beginning. I mean, we're talking right up until February 2022. They willingly did the whims of Justin Trudeau and and other politicians and just, close down peaceful protesting and I just it was just a hard thing to see. And so I think, so as a soldier, police officer, think about this. You're watching this, or you're sending this off to somebody, a police officer, soldier. I hope you're thinking about this and going, look, what is my obligation? What did I take my oath to? Politicians, or to a social contract, which I've read? Because if you're police officer and soldier in Canada, you should know what you're supposed to be obligated to maintain. You're here to maintain my freedom, so that on a Saturday night, in the city I live in, I should be able to take a midnight walk and feel free. I should feel safe to be able to do that, because as a Canadian, I don't have the right to bear arms, so I have to rely on the police to do that. Am I? I hope so. I hope so. And again, I think there's a place for policing and soldiering. I just think it's more in the realm of putting it into the hands of good citizens with the right to bear arms. And I think, soldiering and policing, we have to look at what they should be doing, and that is, looking after and making sure that crimes against humanity for the citizens within the nation you hail from should be, dealt with, right? So that's I guess that's just where I'm going to wrap it up. Please comment below. I thank everyone. I see that I'm almost up to 40 minutes here. Thank you for staying. Thank you for watching. I'm not hating on police and soldiers here. Don't take it that way, please. But I just think we need to reevaluate the role of policing and soldiers in, we're almost 2024 now, right? Halfway through November 2023 right now. Just what is the role of policing, and what is the obligations of police and soldiers to? Who is their obligation to? What is their obligation to? Oaths and people. Okay, I want to leave it at that. I thank everyone that's come here. Your support is greatly appreciated. I thank you all. So please, hit the like on the way out and share, comment, and hit the bell notification. Okay, subscribe. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's having a great day. Bye-bye.